Smith's bold gamble, partnering with BC. While Alberta's pipeline future hangs in limbo, what's her real strategy? Danielle Smith's recent political shift toward building a stronger partnership with British Columbia is a calculated and bold gamble at a critical moment for Alberta. The province's economy has long been dependent on its oil and gas sector, and pipelines have served as the vital arteries that connect Alberta's energy to global markets. However, years of delays, regulatory hurdles, and opposition, especially from British Columbia and environmental groups, have left Alberta's pipeline project stalled and its energy sector uncertain. Smith's decision to turn her attention to collaborative projects with BC, rather than continuing the usual combative stance, is an unexpected move that has prompted many Canadians to ask, what is her real strategy, and can this partnership unlock Alberta's pipeline future? The pipeline debate between Alberta and British Columbia has historically been marked by tension and conflict. Alberta, rich in fossil fuels, relies heavily on exporting its resources, while BC has positioned itself as a guardian of environmental stewardship and Indigenous rights, often opposing pipeline projects that threaten its lands and waters. This long-standing rivalry has delayed projects crucial to Alberta's economy, such as the Trans Mountain expansion. Danielle Smith's recent emphasis on shared initiatives signals an attempt to bridge this divide. It is a recognition that cooperation could yield benefits for both provinces, economically, environmentally, and politically, in a climate where confrontation has produced stalemate. This strategic realignment is especially significant following the snap federal election held on April 28, 2025, which saw Mark Carney take office as Prime Minister. Carney's government has emphasized climate change and green energy transitions, creating additional pressure on Alberta's resource-dependent economy. In this context, Smith's outreach to BC reflects a pragmatic approach. Instead of battling the federal government or neighboring provinces head-on, she is exploring collaboration as a tool to achieve shared goals, even if it means rethinking Alberta's traditional political posture. Smith's pivot also speaks to the broader complexities of governing Alberta today. While the province's energy industry remains the backbone of its economy, there is increasing awareness of the need to diversify and address environmental concerns. By working with British Columbia, Smith is not just seeking to advance pipeline projects, but also signaling a willingness to engage on a broader range of issues, including environmental protection, Indigenous reconciliation, and economic diversification. This holistic approach might help Alberta navigate a future where fossil fuels play a diminishing role, but where economic opportunity remains essential. However, this gamble is not without its critics and risks. Alberta's oil and gas stakeholders expect strong advocacy for pipeline expansion, and any hint that Smith's government might compromise on pipeline priorities could provoke backlash. The energy sector and its workers depend on these projects for jobs and revenue, and delays or uncertainties fuel economic anxiety across communities. Smith's challenge is to convince her base that partnership with BC is not a retreat, but a forward-thinking strategy aimed at delivering long-term benefits. Political analysts and observers have mixed views. Some praise Smith's approach as a refreshing break from entrenched hostility. They see potential in Alberta and BC finding common ground to advance projects that serve mutual interests while respecting environmental and Indigenous considerations. Simon Johal, a policy expert based in Vancouver, points out that Alberta and BC share many concerns and opportunities beyond energy. Collaboration could create a template for more effective provincial partnerships. Yet, others caution that pipeline politics remain deeply polarized. Jason Kenney, former Alberta Premier and outspoken energy advocate, warns that while dialogue is important, Alberta must maintain a firm stance to protect its energy future. Indigenous leaders also emphasize that any partnerships must prioritize meaningful engagement with First Nations communities, who hold decisive power over project approvals through their rights and treaties. The reality for Alberta is that its pipeline future remains clouded with uncertainty. Regulatory obstacles, legal challenges, and evolving global markets complicate efforts to expand infrastructure. Smith's partnership strategy with BC may open new channels for dialogue and cooperation, but tangible progress will require overcoming deep-seated political, legal, and social hurdles. The economic stakes are profound, as pipeline capacity affects provincial revenues, job security, and Canada's energy reputation worldwide. The federal government under Carney has introduced new dynamics to this equation. His administration's dual emphasis on climate goals and resource development demands a careful balancing act from provincial leaders like Smith. Aligning Alberta's ambitions with federal climate policies while advocating for energy infrastructure necessitates innovative strategies. Smith's outreach to BC could be a means to present a united regional front that is more likely to influence federal decisions positively. Within Alberta, Smith's gamble reflects a careful political calculation. She must balance the demands of energy proponents, environmental advocates, and Indigenous communities while navigating shifting public expectations. Her decision to emphasize partnership over confrontation suggests a recognition that Alberta's political isolation risks undermining its influence in national policy. By building alliances with neighboring provinces, Smith may strengthen Alberta's hand in shaping Canada's energy future. The coming months will test whether this bold gamble pays off. The progress of joint projects, the tone of federal-provincial relations, and the response from industry and Indigenous groups will all be critical indicators. Smith's success will also depend on her ability to manage public perception at home, maintaining support from energy stakeholders while persuading Albertans that cooperative solutions are in their best interest. Ultimately, Smith's real strategy seems to be about evolving Alberta's approach to one that embraces complexity and seeks balanced solutions. Rather than continuing the cycle of conflict that has long stalled pipelines, she appears to be betting on dialogue and partnership to navigate the province's economic and environmental challenges. This gamble recognizes that Alberta's prosperity depends not just on infrastructure, but also on relationships across provincial lines, with Indigenous nations, and within Canada's broader political framework. Danielle Smith's partnership with British Columbia signals a new chapter for Alberta's pipeline future and interprovincial relations. While uncertainty remains, this strategic move highlights an attempt to reconcile competing priorities and build a path forward in a rapidly changing energy landscape. The outcome of this gamble will shape Alberta's economy and political identity for years to come and could serve as a model for managing complex provincial and national challenges through cooperation rather than confrontation.